Yes, hello, my beautiful friends. We just pressed the Let's Go Live button, which means we've got to wait for those tubes to connect themselves all across the fruited plain of the interwebs before we go ahead and get started. Looks like they are working hard to join us together today on this Wednesday, and that's tremendous news. That means we can go ahead and get started because we've got a great show in store for us. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. We've got a great stream coming ahead. We're going to be talking about Fani Willis and her lover, Nathan Wade, together again, reunited, my friends. You can't fight love. And so we're going to go through this because we've got a mugshot from Kenaya Williams. You can see here, Big Fani Willis's daughter has been arrested for driving on a suspended license. Might be worse than that, might be a revoked license, meaning they got a whole slew of underlying problems. We'll talk about the difference, what it means. We've also got the actual documents that we're going to go through today, including the PDF files of Kenaya's arrest. And you can see this is what it looks like. We're going to be queuing this one up and then going through the traffic citation and reading through both of these items here in a little bit on the show. We've also got some other documents that we'll attend to, including the one about Tim Walz. Tim Walz, Kamala Harris's vice presidential nominee, is now getting a big fat subpoena. And so this is what this one looks like. Just dropped out from the Committee on Education and on the Workforce. And so we'll go through that. And this has to do with a big scandal there in Minnesota that involved some COVID funds. And those COVID funds were stolen to the tune of millions of dollars. And so we'll go through what this subpoena looks like and see what some reaction is to this out there all across America. Then we're going to jump into some election stuff because what happened today was very interesting. We're watching the election polls come out. We're watching all of the numbers look like they're tightening day by day. And the Democrats seem like they're getting a little bit nervous. Remember, they've already indicted Trump 4 times. They've tried to throw him off the ballot in multiple states, raided his house, arguably tried to get him shot in the head, whatever. Not whatever. That was a big deal. So a lot is going on. And now they're suddenly concerned about the Russians again. Russia again. And so they got these 3 people together. And what you'll see here is Garland, Merrick, the Attorney General, who almost never speaks in public and avoids press conferences at every turn, has now come out and held a press conference. Look who is to his left. That's Christopher Wray from the FBI. And look who is to his right. Lisa Monaco. Isn't that fun? So these people came out. Now they're holding an election security meeting. They talked today through it. We're going to go through the whole thing. We're going to listen to it quickly so we can save some brain cells. But we'll see what they're saying because there's a lot of other stories out there. Biden is now going to be purging, is what NBC is calling this, Russian disinformation and stuff that's going to be manipulating U.S. opinion ahead of the election. So it's going to be my Russia collusion. Again, we've already done this before, so we know what they're up to. And so we've got a bunch of stuff to get to. We'll look at what the DOJ is up to. We'll look at hacking blind spots as states struggle to vet coders of election software. That's interesting. I thought 2020 was the safest, most secure election of all time in human history. And now all of a sudden, Politico is saying, well, we're finding some troubling security bugs in the election. Weird. How curious is that? And so, as you can see, my beautiful friends, we've got a lot to get to today. We're grateful that you're here and with us. It's an amazing Wednesday. Hopefully your week is unfolding nicely. A little bit of a shorter week. Still plenty of time to accomplish all the things you've set your mind to. And today, before we get into any business, we got to talk to ourselves about this upcoming election, because this election is causing a little bit of digestive problems for a lot of people out there. But it might not just be the election chaos. it might be caused by some other potential toxin that's in a lot of our foods, our so-called healthy foods even, that scientists have been telling us to eat with a fraudulent food pyramid for the longest time. And this potential toxin causes digestive issues, according to you know who he is, Dr. Gundry, a world-renowned cardiologist. And this is affecting millions of people nationwide. We've got warning signs when this pops up include weight gain, fatigue, digestive problems, stiff joints, skin problems, and all that type of stuff. Well, some good news. Dr. Gundry explains all of this stuff. All of these side effects are often mistaken for normal signs of aging. It's because of digestive issues. But the truth is, the damage might be caused by these so-called health foods. This is not a normal situation, but you can easily fix this problem simply from your own home. You just have to know which foods are actually healthy and which foods are not, which foods contain these potential toxins. And so you can find out for yourself what is going on with this by just going over to gutcleanseprotocol.com/RG. The link is down in your description below, and you're going to watch this video. It's a good video. And after years of research, Dr. Gundry is here. You see this gentleman right here who's explaining how this all works. He's got an informative video. It's out there free for the public, so you can watch exactly what he's talking about. So go check the video out, gutcleanseprotocol.com/RG. Links are in the description, and it's good for us all to stay healthy, my friends. So check that out from Dr. Gundry. All right, and now, without any further ado, let's get into the business of the day because we've got some business to talk about. Speaking of guts, all right, let's talk about Fani Willis because she's in a little bit of hot water again. Fani Willis and Nathan Wade busted, seen together, showing up as a pair, maybe some might say as a couple, to help Fani's daughter, Kinaya, because she's been arrested. Here is the mugshot of Kinaya. And of course, we're defense attorneys here. We presume the innocence of all people, including Kinaya here. But it's a little bit of a curious case because Fani happens to be the prosecutor for the entire county. Hello, this is your daughter. So you're supposed to have your house in order before you start prosecuting everybody else. And my question is Fani Willis also going to punish her to the fullest extent of the law? Very curious. We'll see what happens here. But that's the daughter of Fani Willis. We're also going to see that Nathan Wade showed up here. We're going to go through the body camera footage here. We're also going to go through the actual traffic citation and the incident report seen here together. But here's some background over from the Daily Mail, which broke this. They had the exclusive on it. They said that her daughter, who's pregnant, is arrested in Georgia for driving with a suspended license amid Trump's election interference case. Let's go through the story. Now, the daughter of Fani is now posing glumly. Got arrested. My mom's the county attorney, and this is happening to me? Says her mom, shot for the mugshot, sucks to be arrested, terrible to have a suspended license. Let's see what happened with the suspended license. Because to give her the benefit of the doubt, I'll be honest, I've represented many people with driving on a suspended license. And most of the time, it's something pretty stupid, to be honest. Somebody got a photo radar ticket. They got served with a ticket. They spaced it. They just forgot about it. They intended to pay, or they signed up for driving school, whatever. They didn't pay their ticket, just total oversight. Then their license gets suspended for not showing up to court, and boom, right? They get arrested on the way to work. Cop says, your license is suspended. Do you have any idea? Oh my gosh, I forgot. I got a ticket when I was picking up my kid on Tuesday. Sorry, get out. Going to, So normally those are resolved pretty easily. Reinstate your license, talk to the prosecutor, what happened, take it from a driving on a suspended license charge, and you just reduce it down. You take a simple plea deal, not a big deal. You drop it down from a DOL, driving on a suspended license, to no valid license. Let's call it that. So think about it. It's a civil charge. You just pay a fine, but no valid license would be like you are driving your car without your wallet. Okay, you didn't have your license on you. Okay, pay a couple $100 fines, reinstate everything. You're good. You're cleared. State makes a bunch of money because you pay your fines. You also got to pay the impound fees to get your car back out. And so you're off the road for a little bit. You got to go through pretrial conferences. It's a nightmare. Totally punished, but have a valid license. And this happens all the time. You may have a registration problem. Forgot to re-register. Forgot to renew this. Whatever. Happens all the time. Not a big deal. Let's see if that's what happened here. So Kenaya, 25, whose mom is spearheading a criminal election interference case, was arrested in Tyrone, Georgia. We'll read the incident report. Was pulled over because cops spotted her using a cell phone while driving. Also illegal. So that's a 2 for now. We got 2 no-nos. She stated the reason for her using her cell phone. Young lady, why are you on your cell phone here in Georgia? You know you're not supposed to be on your cell phone, don't you? Well, sorry, my mom, who's a DA, was calling me. And she was calling me because I'm pregnant, officer, if you can't tell, the report states. So that's the 2, mom and daughter. These are the 2 lovebirds who, these photos in hindsight, like I remember looking at these photos originally and I thought, wow, here they're trying to turn Fani Willis into this big historic, Trump prosecutor, whatever. But watching Wade leer over at Big Fani kind of has a new vibe to it when you know that they were indicting each other all night long, right? And he's like, yeah, baby, you're doing a great job up there with that speech, looking good. So you can see the Texas University, Southern University student told an officer from the Tyrone Police Department that she was unaware. Did you know your license is suspended? No, I had no idea. But in fact, her license was revoked. All on May 13th for the same offense, which is driving while suspended. Oh, so that's a second offense. That's why they arrested her and impounded the car. They're not happy about this at all. She already got another ticket for driving on a suspended license. Busted. You already knew your license was suspended. She's driving again. That's a no-no. Not supposed to do that. Not good. Says that Kenaya was then searched, handcuffed at the side of the highway. Because, hey, you're driving on a suspended. You know it's suspended. And you're driving anyways. So they arrested her, taken to the Fayette County Jail on a misdemeanor charge of driving with a revoked or suspended license. Right? That's a little bit of a different situation than the one I described earlier, where you just have an unpaid ticket. Like I said, that happens all the time. People, crap. And, they recognize it and you just fix it. It's no big deal. But this is a different situation. Now you have multiple driving on the suspended licenses. Now they talk about jail time, right? Now she went to jail, so she served a day in jail already. Yeah, you're not going to do that because they don't want you driving on a suspended license, especially a revoked license for already being suspended. So Fani certainly should have known about this, right? This is now not just an aberration, just some sort of unusual thing that happened. Dang it, just screwed up paperwork stuff. And we've all seen that or been there. It's like, I forgot to do that. And you just fix it. It's just part of life. This is not that. So did Fani know that her daughter was already driving on a revoked license and allowed her to drive out there? Like, did Fani have no idea that the daughter was driving on a suspended license? Was she picking up her sister because she had her sister in the car? Was Fani allowing her daughter? Did she know that they may be a problem? Should she have known? Or is she enabling her daughter to be a criminal roaming the streets of Georgia illegally? Willis's mother later arrived on scene to take possession of her vehicle, the report says. A booking photo shows Kenaya looking drained and dejected. It's terrible to be arrested. She's going into Fani's jail. Are you kidding me? She's lucky she comes out alive. Hopefully she does. She was subsequently released and ordered to attend the town of Tyrone court for an arraignment. See, and normally that's what happens. Like her first offense, the first time she was driving on a suspended license, I'm sure she was just cited and released. But now she did it again. She was driving again on a suspended license, so she got booked. Now, the punishment for DOSL in Georgia is a minimum of 2 days in jail, a fine of at least $500 and 6 months extension of the suspension. If she's found guilty of a second offense, there it goes, 10 days jail. Reach for a comment about this. Willis immediately hung up on the Daily Mail. You can imagine how that phone call went. Fani Willis is sitting in her office, probably Nathan Wade. Fani Willis has her feet up. Nathan Wade's rubbing her feet. They're probably talking about their next trip to Belize or whatever. Phone rings. Fani Willis answers. Fani Willis here. 1 second here. Let me finish my Grey Goose. Takes the call. This is the Daily Mail calling about your pregnant daughter who just got arrested. Do you have a comment? She hangs up the phone. No thanks. No comment on that one. Doesn't even say that. Hangs up the phone. Tells Nathan, we're going to need some more Grey Goose tonight. Her arrest will come as a fresh blow to Willis, who shot to prominence after prosecuting Trump. She secured a grand jury indictment, which was totally rigged after she was indicting her lover, taking $700,000 from Georgia. Let's go through the citations, shall we? We do have those puppies queued up here, and you can see this is the one that looks like a traffic citation. This is the actual ticket itself. As you can see, uniform traffic citation, summons, and accusation. May look familiar if you have one of these or something similar. Your state probably has something that looks just like this. Ours does here in Arizona. Says August 24th, 2024 at 1925, we see that Kenaya Imani Willis has been cited. She is a black, 5'3", 100-pound, hair's black, black female, sex female, eyes brown. 2010 vehicle, Altima, driving it with silver. No accident was here, no injuries, no fatalities. We also have, it was a 2-lane road, and here's the offense. Violation of 40-5-121, license, driving while license suspended or revoked. It's a state law violation. The weather was clear on this day. It was dry. There was blacktop on the road. Traffic was medium, daylight, not a commercial vehicle, so no concerns there. Happened Highway 74, County of Fayette, which is not Fulton, right? It's not Fulton County. So it's Fayette County. Big Fani's in Fulton County, so it's a different county. And the officer who signed off onto this was Jacob Hale. So what happened is she got a citation, and she's been ordered to appear at Tyrone Municipal Court October 24th, days before the election, on Sonoya Road at 9 a.m. in the morning, saying if you fail to appear, well, charges against you are going to move forward. And see, this is what happens. So every time you sign a citation, this is why they want you to sign it. And if you don't sign the citation, cops will just say, oh, that's okay. If it's a misdemeanor, we'll just arrest you then and take you into custody. And that way you have clear notice of the charges. So they are signing it here. And what theoretically happens, right? Let's say we rewind the hypothetical back to another traffic ticket. Oh, you forgot to just respond to the ticket. You got it. You signed it. You go to the court. I didn't know about the court date. They say, yes, you did. You signed it. You confirmed. Here's the notice. This citation shall constitute the official notice. Like, you're not getting something in the mail. That if you don't show up in court at the date and time stated on this citation, then it's going to cause the court to forward your driver's license number to the Department of Driver Services there, the DDS there, or your MVD or DMV, and your driver's license may be suspended. And the suspension is going to remain in effect until you satisfy the underlying issue with the court. And you must appear for this. It's a crime. So we'll see you. You're now notified to be here. License was displayed in lieu of bail. And so she signed off on the document, Kenaya Willis, saying that she'll be there at a later time. Officers also signing off on this, certifying it as well. So, and you can see there's a bunch of different things that could have happened. So the idea that Fani or Kenaya didn't know about this is ridiculous, clearly, because you have to, generally you're going to have a civil citation first. So she got one of these first, right? You have the base layer citation that looks like this. This is the first citation that comes in. What is this citation for? I don't know. She probably got speeding ticket, unsafe lane change, following too close, whatever. Maybe it was another cell phone violation, who knows. But she gets this citation. She signs a notice on the first citation saying, yeah, I'll be there. Yes, I know I have to show up to court. So then when she doesn't show up to court, right after this citation, boom, her license is suspended right here, cut off, suspended. So now she's driving on the road, boom. She gets citation number 2. And this is going to be the driving on a suspended license. It's actually the first probably criminal charge that she may have gotten. Maybe that pled that down to something else. Or it's actually probably still open. We don't even know the status of the second case, right? There's a lot of permutations here as well. Like, she could have resolved that, but also still been penalized. Like, sometimes when you take a DOSL plea deal, they'll suspend you for a certain period of time, so you can't drive for 9 months, 6 months, 3 months, whatever. And if you are, that's still DOSL. So we don't know if she resolved this or if this is still open. So there's an open question. Is this resolved or open? In fact, is this one resolved or open? So she was driving again. Now that, as they told us, license was still suspended. She got the 3rd citation, and this is now for the revocation. All right. And basically, your license was revoked. It was suspended for some other reason. And so now you're going to jail, right? First time is a regular ticket. If she would have resolved it, license would have been reinstated. Everything would have been fine. Then she gets the other one. That's the suspended license, fails to resolve it. Don't know if that's still open and active, right? Somebody's going to have to dig into the Georgia courts. They're kind of obtuse to look up records. But so this is probably the 3rd interaction with law enforcement, would be my guess. And now they're all, well, I don't know what happened. If this is accurate. So let's continue on. Let's read through the rest of the report to see if they give us some background on this, because often that's how they'll give us those details, what happened when, to show us that it was suspended. So this is Big Fani Willis's daughter's police incident report after she got arrested for driving on a suspended, revoked license. The officer from the Tyrone Police Department tells us the following, says, on August 24th at approximately 1903 hours, I, Officer Jacob Hale, was observing traffic Highway 74 near the intersection of Carriage Oaks Drive in Tyrone, Georgia. Now, during this time, I observed a silver in color Nissan Altima with a female driver holding a cell phone to her ear. Illegal! I then activated my turn signal and positioned my patrol vehicle behind the Altima, Georgia tag redacted. I then activated my emergency lights to initiate a traffic stop on the vehicle due to the violation of the Georgia Hands-Free Act under Georgia Code. Now, the vehicle then came to a complete stop on Highway 74 near Tyrone Road in Tyrone, Georgia. What a coincidence. I then approached the driver of the vehicle and identified myself as a police officer and informed the driver for the reason of the traffic stop. The driver, who I identified via her driver's license as Fani Willis, stated that the reason for her using her cell phone while operating the vehicle was due to her mother calling her related to her pregnancy. Now, while running Willis's license through GCIC, it was shown that her driver's license was suspended as of May 13th, 2024, so not long ago. It was suspended for driving on a suspended license, okay? So that means that something else caused the suspended license, right? So this is definitely number 3. So something caused suspended license 1. So there was some other offense. Then she got popped for driving on a suspended license. And let's see what he says. The suspension was shown not to have a serve date. So I then ran Willis's license through the Fayette County Dispatch, which confirmed that the license was suspended. So she might say I didn't know about it or something, right? We didn't serve the suspension on her. Not sure what he's referencing there, but let's come back to that. So I then approached Willis and I asked her to step out of her vehicle, to which she complied. I then advised Willis that her driver's license was suspended. She said, "Oh, I'm unaware my license is suspended." It is. I then asked Willis to place her. He says, "Yes, it is. You know it is. So turn around, you're under arrest." I turned her around to place her hands behind her back, at the time which she asked, "Am I being arrested?" I then advised her that she was being placed under arrest for driving on a suspended license. I then handcuffed Willis's hands behind her back, checked the handcuffs for fit to ensure I could place 2 fingers within the loops of the cuffs, then double lock them for safety. Corporal Charles Clark and Officer Ralph Burke then arrived on scene as well as I was handcuffing Willis. So we're going to pick up this video in a second. I then requested through Fayette County Dispatch if a female deputy from Fayette was available for a search. I was then advised by Fayette County that a female deputy was not available. I then conducted a brief search incident to arrest for possible weapons and contrabands of Willis in view of my car's front-facing camera. So you can see what I did. I then checked the back seat of my vehicle before placing Willis into the rear passenger seat. I then seat-belted Willis for safety in accordance with departmental policy. I then allowed Willis to retrieve several phone numbers from her phone. Willis advised that she would like to leave her phone with her acquaintance, who was an occupant of her vehicle. Willis's mother later arrived on scene to take possession of her vehicle. Small little Fani blurb there. I then transported Willis to Fayette County Jail for booking. While at the jail, I served Willis a citation for driving on a suspended license, as well as a warning for unlawful use of a wireless device. I then served Willis a notice of driver's license suspension form. I then returned to my duties within the town. Signed by this officer, busting Fani Willis's daughter. So, sounds pretty standard, and I'm wondering if, yeah, so he ran it through Fayette County, who confirmed it was suspended. So he's looking at some records, saying, I don't know if this is effective based on what I see here. So when we talk about court systems and MVD systems, the reason why this can be kind of confusing is because they're two separate entities in most situations. I think in all situations in the United States. You've got a court system that will then notify the MVD and communicate vice versa. So he's checking one system. He's saying, I can't tell if the suspension is active, probably because it's a court hold, not an MVD hold, right? He's looking into the MVD or the DMV records, seeing that there's nothing effectively there, but it's because the MVD doesn't have an internal hold on the account. It's actually the court that does. So then he calls county dispatch. Can you search the other public records? They find, yeah, it's probably a court suspension, as I mentioned, from the original citation. So the first civil citation was what caused the problem. She ignored it, got a DOSL, may have rectified it, maybe not. But part of sometimes when you rectify an original driving on a suspended license, it's you're suspended for a year, right? You just go in, plead guilty. I shouldn't have been doing that. So as a penalty, I'm going to just give up my license because I admit that it was suspended and I shouldn't do that. So she might have done that too. I could also see a situation where she tried to hide this from mom. I could see a situation, and I've run into this, where, kids will call, I'd like to hire you so my parents don't find out about this. And she might, for example, have had a bad attorney who said, why don't you just go in and plead guilty to this DOSL? Just plead guilty to the second offense. It's not going to have any consequences on your license or whatever. And then she drives around, then finds out, oh yeah, it actually did come. It's not just a fine. There actually is a term of a suspension that comes out in the aftermath. So very curious, very curious. Now, what's interesting about this is not that the daughter, of course, got driving on a suspended license. It's that Fani Willis is her mom. And Fani Willis is the prosecutor who's supposed to be keeping things nice and tidy in Fulton County. We know that's not the case. Her and Nathan Wade have been indicting each other for a long time. And one of the big questions about their indictment was whether their relationship had ever ended. And we remember that this clip, which was clip courtesy of Libs of TikTok for us, shared that back during the actual testimony, Fani Willis was asked, did you have an ongoing relationship, or do you currently, with Nathan Wade? Are you two still indicting each other? Because you're still co-counsel in this case. You're still special prosecutor and main DA. So what's the story? And here's what Fani said back during that era.
You left it in August of 2023. That sound right?
That's the hard conversation. That's not the...
We've covered this. Next question.
And you characterize it as a tough conversation, correct?
Yes.
I'm not going to get into the conversation per se.
We should.
Well, if he doesn't want to, we won't go there. So, Mr. Sadon, next question.
It's kind of hard to say no when you've got that opportunity. But all I'm going to say is, was it pre-indictment in this case?
So
we know the timeline that the indictment was delivered.
So that we're clear, the physical relationship ended pre-indictment.
And is that when you were talking about the tough conversation?
But I'm not sure that the tough conversation didn't happen until after, but the physical relationship. So I'm sure if you ask Mr. Wade, because he's a male, he would say we ended June or July because physical contact ended then. Just in my mind, being a woman, it's over when you have that hard conversation. I just think women and men think differently.
And I think the answer, Mr. Sadot, to your question was she's not sure whether it was before or after the indictment.
Well, I'm not sure that was her answer, but let's see if I can get specific.
That is what I said.
This whole thing was a
That's what I said.
total circus.
I'll let you. Next question, Mr. Sato. If you need to clarify.
Want to say one more? What? The romantic relationship ended before the indictment was returned. Yes or no?
To a man, yes.
To a man, yes. To you, no.
She's explained this, Mr. Sato. She's explained this.
And did the forthcoming indictment have anything to do with that?
Ooh.
Or was it just a coincidence?
Mr. Let's go on and have the conversation.
I've just asked you whether or not it was a coincidence.
Had absolutely nothing to do with this. It's interesting that we're here about this money. Mr. Wade is used to women that, as he told me one time, the only thing a woman can do for him is make him a sandwich. We would have brutal arguments about the fact that I am your equal. I don't need anything from a man. A man is not a plan. A man is a companion. And so there was tension always in our relationship, which is why I would give him his money back. I don't need anybody to foot my bills. The only man who's ever foot my bills completely is my daddy.
Is there anything else you would like to add to that?
No.
Sure.
But I'm sure we'll talk about it further.
No, we're not going to talk about it further.
All right, no back and forth, Mr. Sato. Next question.
Okay. So that's the DA of Fulton County in Georgia, biggest county in Georgia. It's just an unbelievable situation to even watch it again. It was a circus when we watched it the first time. It's a circus the second time. And she doesn't really give a clear answer on that, obviously, but the relationship was over. Now, we don't know when it was over. Was it over before the indictment? Before, after the indictment? We don't know. But man, she gave Nathan Wade a serious tongue lashing on this one. He is a misogynist. He's a chauvinist. He says, go make me a sandwich, Big Fanny, and put some meat on it this time, honey. So this is clearly not something that looks like it's happening currently, because these two showed up together, and this is Nathan Wade. He's back in the picture. We thought he would be long off to Belize, okay, a long time ago. And he's not in Belize. He's in Fayette County hanging out with Fani Willis, who is to his right, as we're going to see in just a second. There's Fani Willis. They showed up together. What are they doing hanging out together? Are they in love still? Are they still indicting each other? I think they might be. All right, so we're going to watch this puppy together. And while this is playing, we're going to make sure we're properly engaged in this video.
Couple hours, probably. Mom, Dad, what's it? Okay.
Nice to meet you.
So, Corporal Clark.
Nice to meet you. What?
So, apparently,
Nice to meet you.
apparently her license is suspended
Nice to meet you. Okay.
for something. Doesn't tell us what for or why or where, or that's something she's going to have to call DMV and find out. Okay. Probably what happened, she had a speeding ticket or some kind of traffic infraction, never went to court, didn't take care of it. Okay.
So right there, they don't even really know. They say it's probably some sort of a traffic infraction that is responsible for that underlying citation. So as I described earlier, 3 citations, and there's probably something very basic that she just hasn't rectified. And if she would have just paid the ticket or just gone to court or taken driving school or something, the whole thing would have been solved and none of this would have had to happen.
That's the best guess. So she's gone over to Fayette County Jail, which is right into Fayetteville Square. It's 145 Johnson Avenue. Yeah. Normally, I would say a couple hours is the process. It just depends on how busy they are and like that, okay? Yeah. The driving on the suspended is basically a traffic citation. She's got to have her fingerprints done and picture taken, then she can make her bond. You can pay it cash, use the bondsman, be 10%, whatever. They've got a list of people over there, too, that you can choose from and use whatever.
Where was she stopped?
So the vehicle's registered to her.
Okay.
I don't know.
This is hilarious. Okay, because Fani Willis is the DA, and this dude is explaining bond and the process of getting her out of custody and the whole arrest and arraignment process, essentially getting her out of custody, the initial appearance and all the whole stuff, right? Explaining to them, saying it's a traffic offense. Nathan Wade is going to play Mr. Defense Attorney here for a second. Well, why was she stopped? What was the basis for the stop? Maybe we'll file a motion to suppress based on that.
Well, over there too that you can choose from and use whatever.
Where was she stopped?
So the vehicle's registered to her.
Okay.
I don't know if it was on a flock hit or if the officer observed some kind of traffic infraction. It wasn't me. I didn't make traffic stop. He's already gone and got her going. Okay. So whatever the case may be, when you run the tag, it obviously gives us the vehicle information and the registered owner. Okay. And it's already in the system that has the invalid license. Yeah. Gotcha. So upon that, we just verify that it is that person driving. Or stop the car first at that point. We don't have to know it's them. It's general assumption that the registered owner is the driver of the vehicle. Yeah. If you stop it and it's not, okay, have a nice day. But in this case, she was. So.
Yep. So just are the keys to the car here?
Yes.
Yeah, everything's here.
Yeah, everything's in there.
She has 3 numbers. I believe she gave, let's say, your number, a JC, and a third name I didn't hear. She'll allow us to make. Well, she's allowed to get 3 phone calls when she gets up there.
Yeah,
I'm gonna just park the car.
Once they get the process done, she can make a couple phone calls and call you guys and say, okay, I'm ready. This is how much it is, whatever. I want to say off the top of my head, I think driving on suspended license is about $1,200.
Yeah.
Somewhere right in that area. Every municipality's different, give or take a little bit, but somewhere around there. So,
all right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Okay, so the body camera may go on a little bit longer. There might be some other guys with some other footage because the other officer, as we saw, said that he gave her a full pat down and he did it in front of his vehicle. So there's another, I would presume another body camera out or another vehicle camera that's also out and that's available. But what's also interesting is this happened on August 24th at about 7:30 at night. And August 24th is a Saturday. And what are these two these two lovebirds, prosecutors, what are they doing together hanging around on a Saturday at 7:30 at night? I don't know. Very interesting. Very interesting. So did Fani lie about her ending the relationship with Nathan Wade? Are these two indicting each other again? Were they indicting each other this entire time? Does this open the door for Fani and her text messages to be opened up? I'm sure they've smartened up now about this. They probably got burner cell phones now because the cell phone analyst compared and contrasted the two, and they were texting like lunatics, man. Oh my gosh, like, I don't know, dozens of text messages and phone calls, I think a day. It was crazy. It's like, what are they doing all day? But they're together again, lovebirds. And no one in Georgia is going to do a damn thing about it. No one's going to say, is she a liar? Is she a perjurer? Did she get up there and tell us the relationship was over, but she's still hanging out with this dude? Like lying, perjuring herself to the judge, and everybody just looks the other way. She's got so much bravado that she actually brings him to the scene to try to throw their fannies around, both of them, right? That's why she's showing up there. Yeah, she's a concerned mom, obviously. But there was some story about this that in some other reports, apparently it came up. They know who she is. The cops asked Willis if Willis and Wade were Kenaya's parents. But no, the powerful DA told them that the high-profile lover was just a friend. Just a friend. Embattled DA Willis showed up at the scene, arresting the daughter. The pair who came under scrutiny for indicting each other after ripping off $700,000 from Georgia appeared. 2 lawyers pulled up. They were in a black Ford SUV after Kenaya had already been taken to jail. They were on the scene for about 5 minutes, got the car, and bailed. Willis could be heard calmly saying, Willis said, "It was news to me that her license was suspended. I had no idea." And I could believe that, right? I could believe a daughter not telling mom about this. Like, mom's a prosecutor. Let me fix this. Wade was there wearing a baseball hat. He quietly listened about why the cops stopped Kenaya. At one point, one of the officers, Willis gave the officers her license and asked them not to put her address in the report. Says, "Here's my license. Please don't include that in the report." Seemingly aware of her high-profile position, saying her request was for obvious reasons, one cop said. Oh, yeah, we won't put that in there for obvious reasons. He knows who she is. Y'all can have my address, she said, but the rest of the world, no, said Fani. After the video showed Willis leaving the scene in her daughter's silver Nissan Altima while Wade drove away in the car that they arrived in. Kenaya told the cops the reason she was using the phone is because mom called and she was pregnant. Mom said unaware. Naya and her other sister claimed she was unaware that the license had been revoked. License was already revoked for driving while it was suspended. Why was it suspended? I don't know. Probably another reason. Willis and Wade came under fire earlier this year for their clandestine relationship, which obviously was a big deal. Here's the two showing up. What is she? Her shirt says Scorpion Gal? Scorpion Girl? No. Okay, the Scorpion Queen was the woman with the scorpion pin who showed up and obliterated Nathan Wade, representing Jocelyn Wade. We remember her. And the Nathan shirt says Together 404. I'm sure that's some sort of a cause for something. So Trump and other co-defendants have been trying to boot Willis. The DA's office and Wade and Willis did not immediately return calls for requests on Wednesday morning. And so a trial date hasn't been scheduled in the Trump case because that's still on appeal. And we're going to be covering that, obviously. And we're going to keep our eye on what's happening with Fani Willis. Her daughter is driving all over the place, insurrecting the streets of Georgia. Maybe she should focus on that and not fake charges against President Trump. All right, my friends. So hang on a second. I forgot this one too. Forgot our fanny pack. Also, I should have had this one too. I got this one ready to go too. All right, we'll redo that segment with the appropriate outfit. So, yeah, they're indicting each other all night long, and they're back again. You can't fight love, my friends. You can't fight it. All right, so that was some fun Fani stuff. Now, let's turn our attention over to what's happening with Tim Walz. This is another fun one. And Tim Walz is, hold on a second. Okay, that's much better. All right, perfect. All right, now we can get into it. All right, so let's do it. Tim Walz gets a subpoena. This is a good one because it's over about $100 million, $200 million in stolen COVID funds. We'll get to the bottom of what the actual number is today in the segment. But Kamala Harris cannot be happy about this because the House Committee on Education and the Workforce has now dropped a subpoena and a cover letter to Governor Walz. We'll read through it. Says, how much did the governor know about this criminal activity that stole $250 million in taxpayer funds that was intended to feed children in need? Huh, Tim? While your wife was out there sniffing the burning and smoldering dreams of your citizens, the peasants who had their buildings burnt down to the ground because you let that happen. Apparently, he was also allowing $250 million in taxpayer funds to be gone, stolen. $250 million. That's a big number. So here's the press release. You see the chair Fox sends the subpoena and released a big update on what is happening here. It says in 2022, a U.S. attorney, so a federal prosecutor from the Department of Justice, charged 70 people associated with a Minnesota company, a based company called Feeding Our Future, FOF. They defrauded allegedly over $250 million, a quarter bill from the USDA that was supposed to feed hungry children. Now, to date, 5 individuals have been convicted of fraud, and the assistant U.S. attorney called the case not just criminal, but depraved and brazen. Charges include federal programs bribery, wire fraud, conspiracy money laundering, all of it including the role of the Minnesota Department of Education, right? So what were these local executive agencies doing? Under MDE, under Governor Walz, after MDE, Governor Walz failed to respond to other requests from the committee, and so now we're zooming in on it. And so here's what the letter and the subpoena looks like. And I've got a question about this, right? Is this the right strategy? Is this going to give Governor Walz an opportunity to elevate himself, to be called in front of Congress, and to explain whatever, right? Lie through his teeth as he does regularly, and he's shameless about it. And so does this give him some sort of a campaign moment? Let's see how bad this is and whether he wants to answer any questions about it. Or what is he going to do? What is Tim Walz going to do? Is he going to reject a subpoena from Congress? And are they going to try to get this done before the election? Could be very interesting. So the Honorable Tim Walz, Governor of Minnesota, they write, all right, dear Governor, says the U.S. House Committee on Education is engaged in ongoing oversight of federal programs like the USDA, the Minnesota Department of Education, and the administration of Federal Child Nutrition's program. And we're also looking at Feed Our Future. Now, as the chief executive and the highest ranking official in the state of Minnesota, you're responsible for the MDA and you're responsible for the administration of all these children's programs. Now, the Constitution of Minnesota lays out that the governor may require the opinion in writing, this mirrors the federal constitution, of the principal officer of each of his departments. And he shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Now, copies of our letters to the MDE were sent to you for your awareness of our oversight of the USDA and the MDE's administration. You are well aware of the multi-million-dollar fraud that occurred under your tenure as governor. So you know about this, and we've asked you to help us get our handle on what the hell happened here. Now, November 14th and June 14th, letters were sent to the MDE requesting information about the fraud. The documents we've got to date indicate the actions taken by you and other executive officers were insufficient to address the massive fraud. In fact, statements in the press by you and your representatives indicate that you and other executive officers were involved, or you had knowledge of the administration of this program, and you knew about the massive fraud. When you were asked about your decision of not holding agencies accountable and if MDE employees would be disciplined, you replied, this wasn't malfeasance. So you said they didn't even do anything wrong. You also stated, there's not a single state employee that was implicated in doing anything that was illegal. They simply didn't do as much due diligence as they should have, says Tim Walz. According to the $250 million was not malfeasance, and they just did some clerical mistakes. According to the press reports, however, one of your spokespersons said that your administration has already made many of the corrective actions that were suggested by the OLA and taken strong steps to find and eliminate any remaining vulnerabilities in the government programs. Now, if I had to speculate on this, I would speculate that the federal funds go into the state funds and then the state funds go into Tim Walz's funds. Something like that. So of the $250 million, somehow, some percentage of that made its way back to Tim. In some way, shape, or form. I don't know how. It's just speculation. I've got no evidence of that. But I would imagine that's why somebody covers and shills as hard as this. There's no malfeasance. Now, the committee has been unable to obtain substantive responses in the many voluntary requests made in this matter. And so the committee must now compel you, Tim, to produce the documents that will show the extent of the actions taken by you and your administration relating to these programs and the massive fraud that left kids starving. Rule 10 of the House says we have a lot of jurisdiction and we can investigate a bunch of things. So accordingly, Tim, we are demanding that you produce these documents no later than September 18th. That's the same date as the Trump sentencing. Signed, your friend Virginia Fox, chairwoman of the House Committee. So here's the subpoena. It says, to the Honorable Tim Walz, Governor of Minnesota, you are commanded to be and appear before the Committee on the Education and Workforce and to produce the things identified in the schedule that we'll look at to us at the Rayburn House Office Building on September 18th at 12. Just give us the documents. We actually don't want you to testify at a depot. We don't want you to testify at a hearing. So it's just a subpoena for materials. So he's not going to have to even show up. So here's proof of service saying that they delivered this over to Tim Walz, and here's the things that they're asking for. You see just a bunch of documents, all documents from Minnesota and this organization, from the USDA and the org, Department of Health and the org, communications with the judge, communications with the FBI, things with Governor Walz's office, apparently an outstanding refugee entrepreneurship award, which I'm sure is totally legitimate, all documents and communications with state election officials, and so on. And so they gave them instructions on how to comply with a subpoena. So give this to your staff there, Timmy, and get this done and send it over to us so we know what your role was in $250 million being stolen from the youth. So Tim Walz is not well liked by many people for making up stories about his tacos, his service, his IVF journey, which doesn't exist, and much more. But now he's also being rebutted by his family. Benny Johnson clipped this one. Says breaking the entire family of Tim Walz just endorsed Trump. This is the greatest troll of the 2024 election. And apparently these are all Tim Walz family members. There's always that one apple that falls far from the tree, as they say. Tim Walz is the strange one. So apparently this is family. Walz for Trump, Walz for Trump, Walz for Trump. And Trump posted this over on Truth, reposting from Charlie Kirk, saying photo appears to be verified as legit. Nice family. Shout out to the Walz family, but not Tim Walz. So, all right, good stuff there, my friends. Now, Tim Walz will get the subpoena. We'll see what happens to him, whether he provides those documents or whether he continues to try to cover that up with a lot of the other things he covers up. He's got a penchant for it. But now, my friends, let's turn our attention to our final segment on the day, and it's about election interference. And it's a doozy. The Biden administration getting a little bit nervous about this upcoming 2024 election, and so they're going to work to purge, as NBC reports, Russian disinformation from our entire system. And we saw a lot of this in 2020 when they were fortifying the elections against the Russians, because the Russians came in with their Facebook post or whatever it was that caused no change in the outcome of the election, and they blamed them for all of their actual rigging, which we talked about here at length, involved lawsuits, which changed the election rules based on COVID. Judges and secretaries of states did the same thing that they're doing now to try to throw Trump off the ballot. They did a different version of that in 2020. We also had the CIA, active contractors with the CIA colluding with Anthony Blinken and the Biden administration. We had censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop because that was Russian disinformation, a Russian hack and leak operation. Insane. All of that was true. And everything they did there was wrong. It was censorship, and it was a corruption of the principles of democracy that they allegedly espouse. So they're doing it again. You can see NBC News posted this, saying the Biden administration, and I like how they delete the tether, the hyphen that chains Biden and Harris together. They just leave that one out when it's something like this. Biden administration is now hitting Russia with sanctions over efforts to manipulate U.S. opinion ahead of the election. The administration announced a series of actions in response to alleged efforts by Russians to influence public opinion. So I guess Russians can't create media companies or something like that. If you're a Russian and you have an opinion, do you not have free speech in America? Is that what's happening? Let's see. So Washington, the Departments of Justice in Washington, the DOJ, the Treasury Department, they announced on Wednesday a joint effort to target with sanctions and criminal charges what the Biden-Harris administration says are Russian government-sponsored attempts to manipulate U.S. public opinion ahead of the November election. Wow. Let's see. Merrick Garland announced charges against 2 employees of a Russian-backed media network, RT, accused of conspiring to commit money laundering, saying the American people are entitled to know when a foreign power is attempting to exploit our country's free exchange of ideas in order to send around its own propaganda. It's always the Russians, though. How come they're forgetting all of the other countries? Now, while the indictment redacted the names of political parties and candidates, it was clear from the documents that the Russians wanted to bolster Trump. The Russians are supporting Trump. Again? You're kidding. This is like the third season. It's the same storyline. You have to come up with some new writing. And they're going to harm Democrats. Garland accused these two people, Konstantin Kalashnikov and Alina Afsnerneva, of implementing a nearly $10 million scheme. And a bunch of people are saying this actually trickled down to some other conservative content creators out there from the indictment. Now, the company never disclosed to these influencers or to their millions, they say, so influencers were getting some of this money, to the million, not named in the indictment, is my understanding, to their millions of followers as ties. Instead, the defendants and companies claimed that the company was sponsored was a private investor and that the private investor was a fictitious persona. The company published hundreds of videos, contained commentary on events, and they said, we believe Mr. Putin is weighing in on this action. So the DOJ came out, they're seizing 32 internet domains, and the Attorney General made clear that Iran is also responsible for this. So this is some really scary stuff, because if you're a conservative influencer and you happen to, let's say, disagree with the Ukrainian hystericism, maybe you say some things that are sympathetic to Russia. Like maybe you would say something like, maybe the Russians are irritated with having NATO constantly encroaching upon their border. If you said something like that, a lot of people flip out about stuff like that. But you say something like that, does that mean that you're in bed with Putin? And now suddenly you can't work with them? And maybe they support that opinion. Maybe they say, yeah, I like your take on stuff, and they want to hire you or work with you or start a podcast with you. And full disclosure, nothing like that has happened here. No one's paying us $10 million. I'm not Russian. All right. But anyways, the point is, it's always the Russians. Okay. There's many other countries that are engaged in propaganda efforts nakedly all across America and pay our politicians nakedly. And they go indict a couple of Russian people who want to just start a podcast. All right. So here is NBC. They say, Biden is launching a, quote, whole of government action to purge the system of Russian propaganda ahead of the election. To purge the Russians. Yeah. So are they going to do the same cover-up routine as they did in 2020? Anything bad comes out about Kamala, oh, Russian propaganda, delete it. Between now and the rest of the time, right? Everything bad is just Russian propaganda, and Biden's going to be purging everything. These are from the so-called Democrats, and this is what Garland and the rest of them had to say. They were there today. Let's listen to some of this and see what our security officials, including Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, Christopher Wray of the FBI, and Lisa Monaco, the deputy at the DOJ, who many argue is mostly running things. This is what they had to say about this new Russian threat today.
In the days ahead. Before I get to the work of the task force, I also want to announce two major law enforcement actions that the Justice Department is taking that are separate from the important work of this task force, but are part of our broader effort to protect our elections from unlawful interference of any kind. First, this morning we unsealed an indictment in the Southern District of New York of Konstantin Kalashnikov and Elena Afanasyeva, two Russian-based employees of RT, a Russian state-controlled media outlet. They are charged with conspiring to commit money laundering and to violate the Foreign Agents Registration Act. That law, enacted nearly a century ago, was enacted to ensure that the American people were informed when a foreign power engages in political activities or seeks to influence public discourse. The American people are entitled to know when a foreign power is attempting to exploit our country's free exchange of ideas in order to send around its own propaganda. The company never disclosed to the... And that is what we allege happened in this case. In the wake of Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, RT, which was then known as Russia Today, was dropped by its American distributors. The company ceased its formal operations in the United States, and the European Union, the UK, and Canada banned RT's broadcasting. But as RT itself has boasted, the government of Russia continued to use RT to direct disinformation and propaganda. In the wake of Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine, RT's editor-in-chief said the company had built, quote, an entire empire of covert projects designed to shape public opinion in Western audiences.
It's such a joke. Do you know who the biggest propagandists are? The American media. They told us hand over fist for months, maybe years now, I don't remember when it all happened, that Putin blew up Nord Stream, that it wasn't the West, that the Russians did it. That was their narrative. And the truth is not that at all. So you want to talk about who's spreading propaganda in America, we should look to our own media and our own government. And Jake Sullivan and Biden and the rest of them who knew what really happened, that the Ukrainians blew up Nord Stream, they were coy about it. They never came out and told us the truth about anything. So then you get some Russian media figures who come out and they want to drop 10 million into a podcast network or something like that so that they can come and correct the record. And I don't know who these people are. Maybe they're not citizens or whatever, but are they citizens? Do they live here? Maybe some Russians here who are citizens do want to support that.
We allege that as part of that effort, RT and its employees, including the defendants, implemented a nearly $10 million scheme to fund and direct a Tennessee-based company to publish and disseminate content deemed favorable to the Russian government. To implement this scheme, the defendants directed the company to contract with U.S.-based social media influencers to share this content on their platforms. The subject matter and content of many of the videos published by the company were often consistent with Russia's interest in amplifying U.S. domestic divisions in order to weaken U.S. opposition to core Russian interests, particularly its ongoing war in Ukraine.
Well, the end of the war is in our interest too. Are you allowed to say that? The end of the war, we don't want the war to go on forever and ever. Well, many of us don't. I think the defense contractors and the Democrats do. But yeah, we'd like the war to end because we're tired of funding it. Because nobody's explained what our interest is, other than Russia's going to take over Europe.
The company never disclosed to the influencers or to their millions of followers its ties to RT and the Russian government. Instead, the defendants and the company claimed that the company was sponsored by a private investor. But that private investor was a fictitious persona. The charges instilled this morning do not represent the end of the investigation. It remains active and ongoing. In a separate enforcement action, the Justice Department is seizing 32 internet domains that the Russian government and the Russian-sponsored actors have used to engage in a covert campaign to interfere and influence the outcome of our country's elections. As alleged in our court filings, President Vladimir Putin's inner circle, including Sergei Kirilnikov, directed Russian public relations companies to promote disinformation and state-sponsored narratives as part of a program to influence the 2024 U.S. presidential election. An internal planning document created by the Kremlin states that as a goal of the campaign is securing Russia's preferred outcome in the election. The online infrastructure used by the Russian public relations company, known as the Social Design Agency, or SDA, and related actors, included what are sometimes referred to as cyber-squatted domains. These websites were designed to appear to American readers as if they were major U.S. news sites like the Washington Post or Fox News. But in fact, they were fake sites. They were filled with Russian government propaganda that had been created by the Kremlin to reduce international support for Ukraine, bolster pro-Russian policies and interests, and influence voters in the United States and in other countries. Internal documents of the Kremlin describe the content as, quote, bogus stories disguised as newsworthy events, close quote.
Wow.
This malign influence campaign has been referred to as doppelganger. The Russian public relations company drove viewers to these websites by deploying influencers and paid social media advertisements. They also created fake social media profiles, posing as U.S. citizens, post comments on social media platforms with links to the sites. According to SDA's records, it actively sought to, quote, eliminate the possibility of detection of the Russian footprint. Both of the schemes I've just discussed make clear the ends to which the Russian government, including at its highest levels, is willing to go to undermine our democratic process. But the enforcement actions I've discussed also make clear that the Justice Department will aggressively counter such efforts. And the same is true of the entire United States government. Today, our colleagues at the State and Treasury Departments are announcing parallel actions in both of these matters. Unfortunately, we know that Russia is not the only foreign power seeking to interfere in our elections. As the U.S. intelligence community noted 2 weeks ago, we have observed increasingly aggressive Iranian activity.
Yeah, so it's Iran and it's other countries. The one force that they're not worried about, all these geniuses up here from the DOJ and the FBI, are the tens of millions of illegal aliens who've come in. You want to talk about foreign powers interfering in our election? How about the millions of people from Southern American countries and other countries around the world who are now coming in and essentially participating in the election in a small percentage? Even if it's a small percentage, it doesn't need to be a big percentage. A small percentage of 10 million people is very, very consequential for the election. And they're worried about some Russian websites. They're not worried about 10 million people coming across and, you know, even a small percentage of them participating in the election at all. So it's just fake. It's just like, you know, going on an airplane and being like, well, the seatbelt's going to save you if we slam into a mountain or something. But we all play along with the airplane thing, but we're not playing along with this. This is a bizarre thing that we're watching right now. And they're going to go, as we parse through this, and we're going to just, dabble in it. But this is Matthew Olson also. They brought Matt Olson out as well. Also there. It's the whole apparatus, right? They're freaked out. They're going to be gearing up for the election. They're telegraphing it right now.
During this election cycle. That includes recently reported activities by Iran to compromise former President Trump's campaign and to avoid an election outcome that it regards as against its interests. Those recently reported Iranian activities also include efforts to obtain access to individuals who themselves have access to the presidential campaigns of both political parties. The Justice Department's message is clear. We have no tolerance for attempts by authoritarian regimes to exploit our democratic system of government. We will be relentlessly aggressive in countering and disrupting attempts by Russia and Iran, as well as China or any other foreign malign actor to interfere in our elections and undermine our democracy. Now I will turn back to the topic of today's meeting. Just as we are dedicated to combating foreign threats to our elections, we are equally dedicated to confront domestic threats against the public servants who administer our elections. Since the 2020 election, we have seen an unprecedented spike in threats against the public servants who do administer our elections. Election officials, workers, and volunteers in communities across the country have been targeted with heinous acts and threats of violence. The following are a few examples of successful enforcement actions that the Justice Department has taken over the past year.
Okay, that's great. So prosecute people who make direct threats, right? You're not allowed to call and threaten people in our country. You're not allowed to do it. It's ill-advised. They will arrest you for it, take you to jail for it. Can't threaten public officials, can't leave nasty voicemails. Just don't do it. Don't send texts. Don't do any of that stuff. So he's going to walk us through that. It's great. We don't condone any threats like that at all. But that doesn't give you carte blanche to then go after disinformation, which is the next logical extension of this. You can't say certain things because bad things might happen to people. It's the dictator's playbook. It's the censor's playbook. They've been doing this in all the Trump trials for months now. Merchan was the prime operator here. He said Trump talks about stuff that's important to people and the rigged trial causes other people to be upset about it. And so then they send some threats, right? The bouncing ball goes many times past Trump onto somebody else. They do something bad. Trump's responsible for that thing. So therefore, Trump is gagged. Therefore, the rest of us, the American people, don't get to hear about the rigging of the trial in New York. So that's what's happening. It's just a pretext. Everybody's under attack all the time, so we can do whatever we want to do to craft the narrative to stop this danger. And so he's going to lecture us about whatever they've done. They've arrested some people who are mostly, by the way, just drunk or unwell. Every time you hear this, what's so ridiculous about it, too? Like they're on MSNBC, like crying, hey, they're under attack. Fani Willis got some nasty phone calls, right? You always go find that person. That person was like drunk, 2 a.m, screaming, ranting, and raving, is unwell, probably mentally unwell, many of these cases. And it's not a serious threat. So, and some of them are, right? I'm not saying you just ignore it or whatever, but that's the natural consequence of living in a country with 300+ million Americans. It just is part of the game. It's the law of big numbers. I'm not condoning it. I'm not excusing it. But you don't get to then recreate the rules of free speech to stop this.
And precincts he believed had, quote, suspect results. His revolting comments included, quote, dead children burn into the memories of people.
Okay, so you're just a drama queen, dude. You're just a drama queen. Thanks for that.
The county attorney who had been targeted later reported that he, his wife, and 4 children had been assigned round-the-clock protection.
Great, good. They're getting protected.
Plus patriots will surround you when you least expect it.
Okay, so he's just doing a drama read right now. He's like a theater kid.
But the promise of our democracy is that people will not employ violence to achieve their preferred outcomes. The public servants who administer our elections must be able to do their jobs without fearing for their lives. That is why this task force has been marshaling the full resources of the Justice Department to aggressively investigate and prosecute threats targeting election workers, officials, and volunteers. And we will continue to do so in the months ahead when the task force will build on the partnerships with state and local election officials and law enforcement officials tasked with protecting them.
Okay, that's great. You're going to do your job? Is that what you're calling this for, to tell us that? If you threaten public officials, we're going to investigate and arrest you? Okay, that's great. Do your job. Thanks for telling us.
The task force has participated in more than 25 convenings, engagements, trainings, tabletop exercises, including both with our law enforcement partners and with our partners in the election community nationwide. Over the next several weeks, task force representatives will be on the ground meeting with election workers. And in early November, both in advance of and after Election Day, the FBI will be hosting federal partners at its headquarters command center to address events, issues, and potential crimes related to the elections in real time.
Well, what about the crimes that they're going to commit, though? Are they going to address those?
Election officials and administrators do not need to navigate this threat environment alone. We are here to...
The federal government is going to send a bunch of feds out and stand them up in election facilities all across America.
Support them and to make sure they can safely carry out their critical work.
Great.
Protecting our democracy and protecting our elections was a founding purpose when the Justice Department was established in 1870. The department answered that charge then, and we will answer that charge today as we confront those who would use violence or threats of violence to attack those who administer our elections.
Yeah, already illegal. Thanks, Merrick, for going through the sob story like a high school theater kid.
Thank you very much, Mr. Attorney General, and good afternoon, everyone. I also want to start by expressing my sympathies to the families who have been impacted by yet another horrific act of gun violence, this time in Winter, Georgia.
Want to ban guns now?
I also want to extend the department's support for and solidarity with the members of law enforcement and community members who are responding to this tragedy.
Prayers to those families.
We are fewer than 65 days out from the election, and this convening reflects the diverse and aggressive threat landscape that we face and the breadth of the department's work that we are doing to combat those threats. In our increasingly polarized environment, we're seeing continued threats toward election workers, those who ensure that we all can exercise our most fundamental of rights, the right to vote.
Yeah, hey, by the way, Democrats don't give a crap about the right to vote, right? Every time an illegal migrant, an illegal alien comes in and casts a ballot, it dilutes your vote. They're not a citizen. There's only so many votes that go out to citizens that should be dispositive in our elections. When they vote, your vote is diluted. They don't prosecute any of those crimes. And when we try to then purge records and clean out the record rolls of people who shouldn't be on there, they call us racists and bigots and xenophobes and all the things. So they're not really that interested in democratic principles where citizens vote and participate in self-governance. They're not interested in that. They also really don't care about democracy or voting in their own constituents, in their own primaries, because Kamala Harris hasn't gotten a single vote at all. So votes, I guess, can be influenced. The democratic process can be influenced by Nancy Pelosi undemocratically, but not a Russian podcast or something.
Find dangerous foreign actors working to spawn division, discord, and disinformation, particularly across social media. Threats of violence to public officials, including election workers, represent a clear and present danger to our democratic process. That's why we established the election.
Oh my gosh. It's a threat to, this is like an existential crisis. We can't just skip over these comments. Listen to what she's saying. This is an existential threat to our democratic process. These threats against people that Garland just said they're making arrests on and they're going to be dedicated working towards preventing violence and all those things. It's existential, which means you can kind of do whatever you want with the election.
Now, we are fewer than 65 days out from the election, and this convening reflects the diverse and aggressive we're doing to combat those threats. In our increasingly polarized environment, we're seeing continued threats toward election workers, those who ensure that we all can exercise our most fundamental of rights, the right to vote. And we are identifying dangerous foreign actors working to spawn division, discord, and disinformation, particularly across social media.
There it is.
Threats of violence to public officials, including election workers,
already
represent
illegal.
A clear and present danger to our democratic
It's already
process.
illegal.
That's why we established the Election Threats Task Force to investigate and prosecute the growing number of threats directed at the public servants who make our elections possible. Dedicated career prosecutors and FBI agents carry out this work across the country every single day, working hand in glove with state and local law enforcement. In recent months, as was just detailed, the task force has continued to prosecute threats toward public servants, and we will continue working tirelessly with our law enforcement partners to ensure threat actors answer for their actions. Because a threat to any election official, worker, or volunteer is at bottom a threat to our democracy.
Everything's a threat to our democracy. It's actually just a threat to that election worker. And so you don't get to do, censorship in order to limit what people can say, to stop people being angry at election officials.
The Election Threats Task Force convened today fits into a larger effort by the department to safeguard our elections.
Wow.
A critical element of that work includes combating foreign malign influence activity as illustrated by the actions we've announced today.
The Russians.
Our foreign adversaries' primary goal is to undermine confidence in our democratic institutions and values, including working covertly to influence and manipulate our elections. Today's actions, as laid out by the Attorney General, reaffirm that Russia remains a predominant foreign threat to our elections. And as the intelligence community has publicly reported, and as I have previously warned, Iran also is accelerating its efforts to influence our elections, including the presidential election. Today's actions reaffirm the department's ongoing commitment to detect, investigate, expose, and hold accountable all those who perpetrate foreign malign influence schemes.
All right.
In our work combating and exposing actors affiliated with Russia, Iran, or any foreign actor seeking to influence our election will continue day in and day out without fear or favor. I'm grateful to the members of law enforcement, prosecutors, and all the public officials working around the clock to protect our election process and to bring to justice those who seek to undermine our democracy. With that, I'll pass it to Director Ray.
Okay, so this is one of the most corrupt people at the DOJ. Her name is Lisa Monaco. She's the deputy AG, so number 2 to Merrick Garland, was highly involved in a bunch of the cases that we've covered here, including the J6 stuff. Many people saying that she is one of the brains behind that operation, along with this other guy, Matthew Graves, that we're going to see here very shortly. But then she's going to turn it over to FBI Director Christopher Wray.
Thank you to the Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General, for bringing the task force together again for this meeting. Before I dive.
And I just want to emphasize, this is like the A team, right, for the Democrats. These are like the Avengers of wrecking American constitutional order, all brought out here today for this. So this is a big deal. Ray does not like to come in and do these things. He snubs Congress. He's like, are we done yet? I have a plane to catch, 45-minute plane to catch back to my little house.
Into things, as you heard, FBI agents are on scene in Winder, coordinating with and supporting local law enforcement. Our hearts go out to the victims, the community, and all those affected by this awful, awful act. Here with the task force, I know this group is busy year-round working with our partners, especially our brothers and sisters in local and state law enforcement, who are often the first line of defense in protecting election workers from violence and threats of violence. And as we get closer and closer to Election Day, we're going to continue to step up our collective efforts to protect those charged with ensuring our elections run smoothly. As I've said before, election workers, many of whom are volunteers and all of whom are public servants, are the lifeblood of our elections.
We support our election workers.
Ensuring that threats
we love our election workers and the men and women who are out there participating in this. We don't want the feds infesting it.
Protecting elections and Americans' right to vote extends to an even broader array of threats. Threats the FBI, as both a law enforcement and intelligence agency, will continue to work 24/7.
Yeah, they need to protect us really a lot because we are too dangerous if they don't step in and make sure that we're secure.
Cover and disrupt. That means aggressively combating attempts by foreign adversaries to undermine confidence in U.S. elections, sow discord, and damage our democratic institutions.
Democratic institutions, as always, you can just substitute that with democratic power. So when they say we have to protect our democracy, just think we have to protect our Democrats. We have to protect our democratic institution. We just have to protect our democratic power. That's all it is. Just substitute that word. It's just Democrats, big D for Democrats, not democracy. It's about the institutions that they control. We have to protect the Department of Justice. Yeah, because you control it and because you're using it against your political opponents. We have to protect all these institutions. Oh, no, you're trying to secure your own power.
The actions announced today focus on Russia, but Russia is by no means the only adversary we've seen try to meddle in our society and democratic processes. Just last month, for instance, the FBI, working with the broader intelligence community and CISA, called out Iran for targeting and attempting to compromise former President Trump's campaign. And we continue to keep a close eye on China's efforts to denigrate down-ballot candidates it sees as a threat, and on their broader efforts to sow discord. Whether it's China, Iran, Russia, or any other country, attempts to meddle in our elections or destabilize our free and open society represent attacks on our democracy. And as long as foreign adversaries keep engaging in these hostile influence campaigns, they're going to keep running into the FBI. Today, we're exposing 2 illegal Russian covert influence operations targeting the American public.
Yeah.
The first was run by RT, formerly known as Russia Today. Now, for years, the Russian government has used RT to seed and amplify their propaganda narratives around the world. And while RT America suspended its official operations in the U.S. back in early 2022, our investigation revealed that since at least last year, RT has used people living and working inside the U.S. to facilitate contracts with American media figures to create and disseminate Russian propaganda here.
It's crazy. So it's Russian propaganda, but I think it's in the form of like a podcast. So they call it propaganda. If the other side has a different opinion, like if somebody says, like I explained earlier, that maybe Russia has a legitimate concern about NATO constantly butting up against their border, just like the U.S. might have a problem if the Chinese CCP was encroaching upon, let's say, Mexico. We'd say that's a little not good. We're not happy about that. We already have history with this with the Cuban Missile Crisis, for example, right? We're not happy about that when the Russians tried to put missiles in Cuba. So we don't, you can understand the Russian perspective. So maybe RT says, I want to participate in this and help fund some of this stuff and share and support the people who are spreading those ideas. In fact, we have many other countries that seed stories all over the place. They're not being indicted.
The content was pitched as legitimate independent news when, in fact, much of it was created in Russia by RT employees who work for the Russian government. The second operation reveals even more malign activities by companies working under the direction and control of the Russian government. Companies that created media websites to trick Americans into unwittingly consuming Russian propaganda.
Oh yeah, just like Kamala Harris did with her fake Google ads, where she was rewriting media stories and lying to people that that's what the media companies said, and putting those on U.S. Google servers so that people would search for things and be misled like that, Ray?
Today's announcement exposes those companies and their influence operations that relied on AI-generated content, influencers, and paid social media advertisements to drive...
That's exactly what Kamala does. She hires all these influencers to make little videos about her. You going to indict her?
...traffic to their sites and target Americans with disinformation. As of noon today, we've seized those sites, rendered them inoperable, and made clear to the world what they are: Russian attempts to interfere in our elections and influence our society. As a lead agency for investigating threats to U.S. elections, the FBI is focused on ensuring that our laws are respected and enforced. And when we learn...
Unless it's the southern border or other countries like Ukraine.
Overseas are trying to hide who they are and where their propaganda is coming from as part of campaigns to deliberately sow discord, we're going to continue to do everything we can to expose their hidden hand and disrupt their efforts.
Yeah, you guys did a great job on this too back in 2020 when you covered up the Hunter Biden laptop story, which was absolutely not Russian info, and you guys played that it was so that Facebook would bury it because you guys are hacks. You didn't do such a good job vetting the Russian disinformation when Christopher Steele came back out and said that Trump got urinated on in Moscow or something like that. That was all fake too. But you guys ate that up like lapdog idiots because you're the FBI and who knows what's going on over there. But you have repeatedly maligned the foreign malign influence. Is you against Russia, by the way? You said that Russia created a fake laptop. No, they didn't. You wanted to get us into a nuclear war with a global power over fake propaganda stories that you made up. You tried to deviate the 2016 election with fake propaganda from Christopher Steele, the Steele dossier, all fake. The foreign misinformation, malign information is from you, from the FBI, from Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, who are colluding with guys like Michael Sussman to create fake stories. And then they're going to turn around and lecture us that the Russians are trying to interfere in our elections. They've been making the Russians the scapegoat shamelessly in American politics for years, really, since 2016 and beyond that. But as it relates to Trump, it's been constant. And now they're going to come out and say because some RT people wanted to start a podcast in America, that it's their propaganda. What about the propaganda that we get shoved down our gullet every day due to FBI and intelligence leaks that go to the Washington Post or the New York Times that have fake stories in them constantly about who blew up Nord Stream or what they found in Mar-a-Lago, leaked from the FBI raids, conducted by an illegitimate prosecutor? How about disinformation on that one, Chris?
I'll close by saying thank you again to everyone on the task force for the support you're providing us and for everything you're doing to instill confidence in our elections.
We don't have confidence in you or the elections.
Safe and fair.
And it's not because the Russians.
For the American people.
And so they're going to bring out Mr. J6, Matthew Graves, now.
Sorry.
It's okay. Thank you. Thank you, Attorney General Garland,
who's
Deputy
this?
Attorney General Monaco, and FBI Director Wray for your commitment to safeguarding our elections. With your leadership and your support, the Criminal Division's Public Integrity Section continues to spearhead the Election Threats Task Force. There is no mission more critical to the Criminal Division than deterring, disrupting, and punishing criminal threats to our elections. Since we last met with department leadership in May, the task force has filed charges or secured convictions against defendants in Arizona, Colorado, Kentucky, and Michigan, and opened new investigations across the country. The task force is also preparing for Election Day. Our attorneys are meeting with election officials around the country and recently hosted a training for FBI and DOJ personnel nationwide to address threats of violence to the election community and other criminal threats to our elections. And we are continuing.
So in other words, it's intended to chill any election challenges. You say, hey, I think you're rigging this election here. I'd like to investigate it. They say, are you threatening me? Well, my safety feels under threat because now you're saying I didn't do my job right. I'm a public servant. You can't criticize me. Are you attacking me? We're under attack. I feel threatened. I'm a state official. I'm like Jocelyn Benson from Michigan. I'm under attack. So now people won't criticize. Don't you dare criticize your election officials. What are you, some sort of a felon? Don't you dare. Okay, the government is legit, and if you question it, you're going to be indicted over it. In fact, they've done it in Arizona, they've done it in Georgia, they did it in Wisconsin, they do it all over the place. They did it to our great J6ers and many more. And this is a warning. Don't you even think about challenging our speech, or we're going to indict the crap out our election. We're going to indict the crap out of you so fast it's going to make your head spin. If we want to put up boards over the windows, then just shut your mouth and let us do it. Because we have to board up the windows for our safety. Otherwise, we're going to die. Yeah. So don't complain about it on social media either. Otherwise, you'll have FBI agents show up at your front door.
Surge additional resources to these efforts. The Public Integrity Section has added 5 attorneys to support its election crimes branch so that we can rapidly respond to reports of election crimes. As we approach Election Day, we will ensure that the team has all the resources it needs to perform its essential work. I could not be prouder of the Election Threats Task Force. As we move forward, I am confident that their dedicated efforts will continue to put us in the best position possible to support and protect the election community. With that, I will turn it over to Assistant Attorney General Matt Olson for the National Security Division.
Great job. She did a great job reading her little speech that someone else wrote for her. And so they've done a great job here. Okay, all the kids in the classroom have done a great job reading their little notes and just one after another. Okay, it's your turn now. Great job. After they're done, they're going to go probably get some chicken nuggets for lunch before they go out on recess.
Thanks, Nicole. Thank you, Mr. Attorney General. As you know, one of the foremost missions of the National Security Division is to protect our elections and our democratic processes from foreign interference.
Protect Democrats.
As the American people decide how to exercise their fundamental right to vote in free and fair elections, our laws demand that citizens have transparency regarding the origin of messages from foreign sources. That transparency empowers individuals to evaluate information and to make informed decisions for themselves. We will defend the integrity of our public discourse against any who would seek to break the law and to exert covert influence, regardless of viewpoint or whether that actor is Russia, Iran, or any other nation. Today's charges serve as a reminder that the Justice Department remains steadfast in safeguarding our democracy from foreign interference and protecting the constitutional rights of all Americans. Thank you.
And with that, we'll take a few questions. David?
I have a question for Attorney General Garland and Director Wray. Attorney General Garland, Russia today sent a statement to Fox News and some other outlets here, mocking the situation. They had 5 bullet points or 6 bullet points. The first said, ha, 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 ha. 2016 wants its cliches back. In all seriousness, there is a
The Russians just mocked the hell out of the whole panel. Oh, that's great. The Russians are mocking them. Ha 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 ha. The 2016 cliches want their cliches back. I couldn't have said it better myself. That's really good. All right.
That when they hear Russian interference, they may believe that it's not true. It's not a real thing. How do you assure people this is a real situation?
Yeah, because we don't believe you, because you faked it so many times before. You said that the Russians did the Hunter laptop. Not true. All real. You said the Steele dossier was real. Not true. Totally faked by you guys. So why should we believe you this time? Obviously, you're liars.
I'm sure that was much funnier in the original Russian, but for us...
No, dude, it was hysterical, Merrick, okay? It was hysterical. We can't even believe that even happened. Oh, look how mad he is. Oh, he's so mad.
It's not funny. This is deadly serious.
Oh.
I'm sure that...
They may believe that it's not
let's
true.
do it
It's not a
again.
real thing. How do you assure people this is a real situation?
I'm sure that was much funnier in the original Russian.
No, it was
but
funny
for
in
us,
English,
It's not
dude.
funny. This is deadly serious, and we are going to treat it accordingly.
Director Ray, if I can ask
It's
you-
deadly serious. Well, why are you making up stuff? Stop making it up. Just tell us what happened. You know, just be honest and truthful.
We've talked about
Hilarious.
China for years now, and the threat of China. Also, Iran, you both briefly mentioned Iran and potential influence there. What is your message directly to the leaders of China and Iran who are watching through that camera lens right now? What do you want to say to them over the next few months and beyond?
Knock it off.
Okay.
As long as adversaries keep trying to influence and interfere in our society and
Our
our
government's a
processes, they're going to keep running into the FBI. We're going to keep calling it out. And I think nations around the world have started to also see the same activity. It's not the kind of activity we would expect from nations that want to play in the first world space.
Next question, Milano.
So I guess Christopher Wray's response was, act like you belong here, kind of? Like you're adults, like don't be mean, stop kicking us in the nads because you know better than that or something? That's not, I think, effective.
General Garland, I'm wondering if you can talk about how the Russian effort to influence the election has changed from prior election cycles. What new strategies are you seeing the Russians deploy this year?
Well, I talk generally about it, and I'll turn it over to the FBI director and National Security Director if they want to chime in. Look, it's an acceleration of, and it's an increased sophistication of, and it's use of AI and cyber techniques that were not available in earlier elections.
Which I'm sure they're doing now,
We're
too.
just seeing more.
Have you noticed those interesting swarms that seem to be happening on X and other spaces? I got to imagine there's AI bots out there that are already using ChatGPT to interface with people as real users. I got to imagine that's happening all over the internet this cycle. And we'll probably not know about it until long after it's over.
More and more. It's coming faster and faster. It's now AI fueled. They're now using bot farms in a way that was not possible before. And therefore, it's a bigger threat than it ever was before.
I would just say that the reality is that Russia has meddled in our society and tried to sow discord for decades. Really what we're seeing is just more tools in the toolbox with the advent of technology. First it was social media, which provided a bullhorn, and now, as you've heard, AI is its own amplifier. And so whether it's shell companies, fake personas, secret distribution networks, the point is not the message itself. The point is the hidden hand of the Russian government, which deceives Americans into thinking that they're getting information from American sources when in fact it's coming from the Russian government.
No, we should get it from the FBI. You guys are so much more honest and real and authentic in what you're doing to save all of us.
Mr. Attorney General, tomorrow is the first hearing in the January 6th case against the former president since the superseding indictment against him. He's called these new charges.
Yeah, you guys are going to say that American democracy, we don't want to act like Russians prosecuting our political opponents and all the things. The Russians are bad. The Russians are interfering with our democracy. But these guys just re-indicted Trump. Okay, it's August when they did that.
Election interference and a violation of the Justice Department policy against doing something too close to the election. How do you respond to that, and how confident are you that your team has followed instructions from the Supreme Court following that decision this summer?
I stand by the actions of the special counsel. The superseding indictment is an effort to respond to the direct instructions of the Supreme Court as to how to effectuate a new indictment in an ongoing case.
No, you're doing it because your case is totally screwed. Your illegal prosecutor, Jack Smith, who's not even a real boy, has commingled a bunch of immune conduct in the original indictment. And so he's trying to scrape it out because he does not want to have an evidentiary hearing based on the original indictment because he knows he's going to lose. So he had to refile a new indictment, a second draft, because his first one was so pathetic. And so they're going to play this off like this is just regular procedural stuff. No, it confirms the original indictment was a hack job, and the fact that he has to do a second draft to try to make it work is more evidence that this is a hack job and that they're trying to accelerate it before the election. We know what you're doing, Merrick.
The special counsel is required by the regulations to follow the policies of the Justice Department.
What regulation? What policies? He's not even legitimately appointed. Merrick, he's not even confirmed by the Senate. And we know you know how to appoint real U.S. attorneys because you did it with Robert Hur. You did it with David Weiss, but you're not doing it with with Jack Smith. How come you didn't do it with him? And you arguably gave him the biggest job of all, which is to indict a former president and current presidential candidate. So you know how to appoint U.S. attorneys. Why didn't you do it here?
Including the election sensitivities policies, and I'm quite confident that he did so.
Last question here.
In terms of the Russian interference, can you be more specific in terms of the ongoing divide? Are they pushing a particular candidate this election cycle? What can you give us a sense about the ultimate goal of these actions?
As I said, the effort in this case is to affect the preferred outcome in the presidential election. The documents that we are unsealing today, including internal Kremlin documents, I point you to those to see exactly what's involved. More generally, the Director of National Intelligence has testified that Russia's preferences have not changed from the preceding election.
Thank you, everyone.
So they love Trump. All right, so these knuckleheads, I don't know what this meeting costs, right? Just think about this in terms of like hourly rates and how much these people are paid and how all the agencies that are there. DOJ or all the divisions of the DOJ, all these are DOJ people. DOJ, 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 FBI. But these are some of the worst people in our current judicial system by far, all of them at one table. They're responsible for huge problems that are adverse to American constitutional order, things like free speech, due process, functional elections, non-prosecution of political opponents in American law, one after the other. Innocent people going to prison under J6, fake evidence being created against President Trump and others. It's a cabal of monstrous folks who are sitting here together now lecturing us that we're going to have safe and secure elections thanks to their heroism, thanks to their stepped up efforts to make sure that we are safe and to make sure our elections go off without a hitch. We know the truth. What they're doing right now, if it wasn't crystal clear, is standing up election security, election infrastructure to try to rig the election again. They've already done it before. FBI did it by burying the Russian story 2 election cycles. They brought the Russians up. They're doing it again. They're manufacturing J6 stuff, prosecuting J6ers. They're going to bring up, there will be, I guarantee you, much more on the J6 stuff coming back out. They're going to reinvigorate that because it's all they've got. They've got the institutions under their control now, and they're going to exploit the hell out of them because that's all they've got. They've got no policy. They've got no vision. They've got no ethics, no values. They just have raw power, and they're working to do it again. We're going to be here to continue to cover it, my friends. Thank you so much for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. We're going to come back here, hold these people accountable, and we'd love to have you back. So thanks for signing up as a subscriber. Thanks for becoming a membo, joining us as a membo. Thanks for inviting friends or family to come back here for our next live. We'll look forward to seeing them and you back here on the next one. But, my friends, now it's time to hear from you. Let's see what you say about all of this. That little press conference was blood boiling, but I want to hear from you. Let's see. We had 3 good segments. If you're just joining us, we talked about some fun stuff today. We had Fani and Willis and Wade busted back together again, showing up on a Saturday night at 7:30 in t-shirts, basically frolicking out of the car together. Who knows what they were doing all afternoon, but we don't want to go there. We talked about them. We read through the police report from their daughter, and we asked ourselves questions about Fani Willis and her perjury. Why is she lying to her constituents in Georgia? We also then talked about Tim Walz, read through his subpoena, and understand now that he may be involved in a big scandal, a $250 million, $250 million stolen in Minnesota from starving children. Typical Tim Walz. Typical Tim Walz, huh? And then lastly, we talked about Joe Biden's election purge, and we had the DOJ, the FBI, and all the various division heads there saying that they're going to stand up some election infrastructure fortification security to make sure those dastardly Russians don't interfere again. The FBI is going to take care of us, no doubt. And so now, let's see what you have to say about this, my friends. It is a beautiful and an amazing day. Let's see who is here and joining us in the house. We did start 1 hour early today because your boy is going to go see Tucker Carlson tonight. Yeah. We're going to go check that out, and it's going to be fun. It's right down the street here. He's going to be here in town with Russell Brand, and so that's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to head on over there. If anybody else from Arizona is going to be there, maybe we'll see you out there. It's going to be a fun show. So we're going to go check that out. And of course, before we jet on out of here, we want to say what's up to our amazing comments and our friends in the house. And John McGarvey, what's up? John McGarvey is clipping for us today. We got our friends Donut clipping for us today. Amazing to see you guys. What's up? So we've got Jong Shin is in the house. What's up, Jong Shin? Just became a supporter. And hey, new supporters, grab that members only morning stream. We had a great members only morning stream this morning for our friends on YouTube and on Locals. And so welcome aboard our friend Jong Shin in the house. We've got some other comments. What's up? Glocky says, the feds are now going after YouTubers, most notably Benny Johnson and Tim Pool. There is an indictment that dropped calling them Russian co-conspirators. And I didn't see that specifically calling them that, but I know that their names are coming up in the context of this conversation. And so we're certainly going to be supporting them because this is, you can see where this is going, right? Benny Johnson and Tim Pool, two pretty damn effective people, and they don't like what they have to say. So of course, why wouldn't they be Russian, Russian agents or something, right? And we're excited to be added to that list soon one day too, when we reach that status. But yeah, we'll be defending them, and we'll be seeing what's coming up here if they're involved. I think I saw that Tim Pool is going to be filing suit against Kamala, I think, which will be a fun one to support as well. What's up? Rick Donner is here. Yeah, what's up? Rick shared this one. This is a link over to Fani Willis. Exactly. I think we played this clip, Rick, which is from Libs of TikTok. Exactly. Sharing what Fani Willis said. And so thanks, Rick Donner, for that one. I think you were thinking, great minds think alike, as they say. Hey, what's up? Bruce Wayne's in the house. He says, Wade, what a lovely way of saying how much you love me, to this tunes. What a lovely way of saying how much you love me. From Bruce Wayne. What's up, Bruce? Yeah, and Wade's going to get some brownie points. That's some boyfriend brownie points to help your girlfriend go help her daughter after her car is about. Actually, they didn't impound the car. That was a nice thing. They let mom take it home. But often in Arizona, they'll impound your car for 30 days because the last thing that they want to do is to have mom take the car back and then just give the keys back to the kid, right? It's like you just give her the keys again. She's driving on a suspended license, so she can just go drive on a suspended license again, and that would be interesting. So anyways, so thanks to Bruce Wayne on that one for sending that one in. I don't know the song, obviously. I'm totally out of touch there. Object Class Keeter, what's up, Object Class, says, I'll imagine the driving violation would have been covered up already if Willis wasn't under a microscope due to other actions and activities. Yeah, I think that's probably true. Nobody would be talking about it. It would just be a regular old traffic ticket if, Fani Willis wasn't indicting Nathan Wade. What's up? Mark Butcher is in the house. Mark Butcher, it's great to see you. Being a membo, Mark, and inviting in 5 new membos. Thanks for doing that, Mark. Awesome. GNR Lawn Service in the house. Moi Deeb is coming in. Daryl Jarrettsy is here. Dirt Dude is coming in. And Manuel Ferreira, all in the house, courtesy of Mark Butcher in the house. What's up? Jack Mack is in the house. Jack Mack bringing in 5 new membos. Good to see you, Jack. Happy Wednesday. Says T from Laos is here. Keith Bradbury, Relaxing and Restful 365 is coming in. Hucklebearer and CV Grady gifted membos, courtesy of Jack Mack. And we had a great members only stream here that hopefully you enjoy, courtesy of our friend Jack Mack. Thank you, Jack. Jennifer says, Robert, Wade and Willis were not wearing business clothes there on the side of the road. No, it certainly didn't. They were wearing some little t-shirts and looks like they probably threw them on real fast after another legal session, working on their motions, you know, indicting each other. That's what they were doing. Jack Mack says, has anyone seen the video of a woman named Alicia Brown saying she was hit by a car driven by Kamala Harris in 2011 in San Francisco, left her paralyzed? Is there any truth to that? No, I haven't heard of that one. Shane says, I haven't heard of that one. And Manuel says, I haven't heard either, but I'll look around. No, I've not heard of that. From Kamala? That's a juicy one. That's a spicy one. The big one today was Tim Walz, I think, and his family abandoning him. What's up, Bruce Wayne? Thank you, Bruce. Nice hat. It's a good one. It's a good one. It fits in. It fits in appropriately with the subject matter. What's up, Elf? Loving the hat, Robert. Thank you, Elf. I love it too. It's a great hat. And shout out to, who sent this hat over to us? Was it Tremendous? Was it Carrie B? I forget. Someone will remind me. I apologize, but we'll have to write it on here. Hey, what's up? Gordon Beaton. Nathan just happened to be passing by with cash. Yeah, under his mattress. Somebody should have checked Fani Willis for Grey Goose, right? Was she drinking and driving? I think Nathan drove over there. But, yeah, the hat is Nathan's Hot Dogs, if you're not familiar with it. What's up, Gordon Beaton? He did just pass by with cash. That's funny. All right, we got, who's in the house? We got Fruit Fly Sadist. Fruit Fly Sadist in the house. They are annoying. You should cover Tim Pool's lawsuit. He's suing Kamala Harris, the campaign, for defamation. It sounds like a good one. Yeah, I'm down to cover that one. Has he actually officially filed it? I know I think he was talking about it, but if he has an official lawsuit, I'm sure it's a good one to read through, because she is a defamer and a liar. What's up? AG says, hey, thumbs up for Robert Gouveia. Thumbs up for Robert Gouveia in the house. Rick Donner says, wait, based on those memes, on those names, and Garland saying how they are Russian-based, how could they unregistered foreign agents? How could they be unregistered foreign agents? Doesn't FARA require you to be a U.S. citizen or be working in the U.S.? I think they're saying that they were working in the U.S., that they were creating a shell company and then paying U.S. influencers doing business in the United States. And I haven't read through the full indictment, so I don't know how exactly it's framed, but I'm sure they're saying that they were. Your point is well taken, Rick. It's like, listen, if this applies to them, to the Russians, does this also not apply to all of the other countries that are trying to get their opinions shared in America? There's a lot of them. MAGA Hat says, the DOJ will not tolerate election interference from any authoritarian regime because they're the authoritarian regime and they don't like challenges to their power. Chubby says, yeah, exactly. Okay, so basically these Russian election influences did almost the exact same thing that the Harris campaign has done through Google ads. Exactly right. Exactly right. They changed the ads. Exactly what they were saying. They created a web page with fake headlines and stories that they thought were Russian propaganda. Kamala Harris created fake Google ads and Google just accepted it. And then they suppressed the label. Google didn't even label it as an ad. Can't wait for good old Garland to come out and announce an investigation. Won't hold my breath. Such a good comment, Chubby. Thanks for that one. A million hugs to you from Sheila Poo, bringing in 5 new membos. Thank you, Sheila. Look who's coming in. Antiplode is here. Jerry Lass, Eric Johnson, is in the house, and Stephanie Panis joining us, courtesy of Sheila Poo. A million hugs to you, Sheila. Thanks for doing that. Ray Ronk, what's up? Says Garland already said disagreement is a threat. Yeah, and if you disagree with the election officials, you might be attacking them. You understand how that works? Oh, you're attacking them. Oh. Maybe you should be indicted. Jason Warren says Tim Pool, Tucker. Is Tucker on the list too? I haven't heard his name in there yet. Benny Johnson also being investigated. Yeah, and we'll see. We'll see. I know the names are redacted, and I don't want to talk out of turn, and I don't want to mislabel them. So but they are friends of the cause, and so we'll be keeping a close eye. Chubby Stubby, what's up? Says federal agents standing around polling places, clearly not voter intimidation at all. Only good thing to come from it might be actual intimidation of, quote, undocumented voters from voting. I see what you're saying. So if there's a bunch of feds stood up all over the place, maybe the illegals who are intending to vote will not vote. And that wouldn't be voter intimidation. That would just be enforcing the law, obviously. MAGA Hat says, replace threat to democracy with, quote, threat to the Democratic Party. Yeah, another great way. Say Democrats or Democratic Party. It's exactly right. And this one from Ray K. 31 months as a membo? Oh my gosh. I lose track of multiples of 9 after 2, really. Then it's complicated from there. But we're getting close to 4 babies. Oh my gosh, Ray K. Thanks for being here. Says they are ramping up the ability to rig it again. Yeah, they're doing it right now. They're rigging it. They've been rigging it for a long time. Starting with January 6th, to be perfectly honest. What's up, Ray K? Thanks for being a member for 31 months, man. That is a long time. We are very grateful to have you here this entire time. What's up, MAGA Hat? Says replace threat to democracy with threat to the Democratic Party. Love it. Jeffrey Adams says every Republican volunteer poll worker and observer needs to have a body cam, not an iPhone like the police use, and you can buy one at Gall's. Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if they would allow that when you actually went in there. I'm not sure that they would. But remember, we did this in Arizona. Arizona was live streaming a bunch of it. Not that you could really see anything, but we were watching it at the time. MJ Powell, what's up? Good to see you, MJ. Bringing in 5 new membos. Thank you, MJ. AK Robbie's in the house. What's up, Robbie? Kieran S. Perfect Pete is here. Missy and Alex Jones is here. What's up, Alex Jones? We got MJ Powell. Thanks for bringing in 5 new membos. What's up, B-Man? B-Man says, notice, no DOJ election watch 2022. Also, the only election workers threatened in 2020 were Republicans and poll workers that were telling the truth. Yeah, and they're going to make sure that there's a lot less truth being told this year. What's up, Shane? Says, like, my friends, share this video. Please subscribe. Thank you for the reminder, Shane. And also hit that notification bell so that when we go early, a little bit early, when we go live a little bit early, rather, you get that notification. Thanks for doing that, Shane. Thanks for the reminder. Ray K, what's up? Says they accuse others of what they are doing. Not only does the U.S. influence elections in other countries, if they don't like the outcome, they just overthrow them. Yeah, and the Russians want to start a podcast, and they all get indicted. Okay, all right, because they're spreading propaganda about American policy. Okay. Jeffrey Adams says, not sure if this is posted, but every Republican poll worker and volunteer, needs to wear a body cam. Thank you, Jeffrey. We got this one from Bruce Wayne. Says, I don't have enough beer to stomach Garland. It's a lot. That's why we played him at 1.5 speed and actually lowered it for the other people. Garland talks so slow. That was 1.5 with Garland, and it was still painful. I know, Bruce. We made it. What's up? JMZ says, I'm pretty sure that Fani wasn't going to sleep at 7:30. If you notice, she doesn't have any makeup on, and they're both dressed casually in one car. Yeah. They were probably just having, movie afternoon. Saturday night. You want to go out tonight? No. Let's just take some Grey Goose out. And we'll watch some movies. Sheila the Pooh, what's up, Sheila? 5 membos coming in. Sheep herd, third proverb. Malstorm is here. Shelly Babes in the house. And Bumstead, all gifted membos, courtesy of Sheila Pooh. Thank you, Sheila, for bringing in 5 more membos on the day. Jeffrey Adams, what's up, Jeffrey? Says, what happened to Walter Ringfield, the Democrat operative who was arrested in Maricopa County for stealing the fob and the key to the voting machine? He worked for Soros. I don't know on that. I don't know if he worked for Soros or what his background was, but I do remember that was an interesting story. That might be worth looking up. I think he got indicted in Arizona, didn't he? I think he got indicted with a felony. And his dad, they talked to his dad, and there was some interesting stuff there. That's probably worth a follow-up. Thanks for the reminder, Jeffrey. Hey, what's up? Sword Magic Helmet over on Locals says, Rob, I believe that this is all about a cheating scheme. If you as a poll worker, quote, get upset because you catch them cheating, they'll put you in jail, right? Because it's going to be a threat to their safety. Oh, they're just honest, good public servants. So don't you dare even question them, lest you get indicted. What's up, MAGA Pound Cake over on Rumble? Says, hey, Rob, watching the Watchers. Look up Ivan Raiklin. I follow him on X. He's on a mission, exposing the deep state with names. His goal is informing all voters before the election. He was on Fresh and Fit on Rumble. Check it out, please, and thank you. Good recommendation from MAGA Pound Cake. And yeah, I follow Ivan, no doubt. I follow him and I follow his work, and I appreciate his contributions. We got this one from Hey, it's the Munkets. Tony Hey Munkets in the house. 20 new members. Oh my gosh, Tony. Thanks for bringing in 20 new members. Look who's here. Rita, what's up? Mike Davis coming in. Evie, 1973. We got George A. from Southeast Michigan. What's up, George? Raven is here. Rick Raguso, Jay Jarvis, Super Iron Bob, Demon J, Eric Lawson, Pamela Nizlak. We got Mark Woodruff, Notes. We have Marie, Cali Girl, born and raised, Finelay Vox, Alien Renders, Dr. Voodoo's here, and Denny Bacon along with Larry 20. Courtesy of Tony Hey Munkets. Thank you, Tony, and welcome aboard 20 new members. We'll see you, new YouTube members also. If you want to join the members only after party, which is on Locals, grab the Telegram link, which is our private chat, members only link, 24/7 private chat. YouTube members can grab it from the community tab section. Locals also can grab it too. Thank you, Tony Hey, and welcome aboard new members. Voice of the People says, what's up, Voice? Says, Garland and Ray think you are stupid enough to believe this Russia thing over and over and over. I know it's so boring. It's season 3 of this crap. The first 2 seasons were totally fake. Maybe there was a point to the theory 2020 will happen again in Trump's favor to imprison him. I'm not sure what that theory is. So like 2020, the theory that 2020 will happen, Trump will lose, and then Trump will get in prison after losing. I haven't heard of that theory, Voice, but it sounds like an interesting one. But I do think Garland and Ray, they just think we're dumb, and they can just tell us the same story again and again. Sheila Pooh, what's up, Sheila? Says Russia wasn't true in 2016. It was proven false in 2020, and we're not going to fall for it again a third time. Yeah, I hope you're right about that, Sheila. I mean, they've got a bunch of people who are already predisposed to Russia. Like there's a bunch of people that say 2016 was stolen because of the Russians. Like they still don't know that was a fake op and that people got indicted but escaped liability for it. What's up, Freedom Lover? Thank you, Freedom Lover. Says, last time saying Russia, only to find out it was all a lie. They think people are going to believe them again? Hell no. They accused everyone else, and they deny narcissistic behavior at its finest. Yeah, it's like abusive to the American people. They're going to lie to us again and expect us to believe it. I mean, they should have been laughed out of that room by the media. They should have said, what are we doing here? You guys have lied about Russia the last 2 elections. Why should... I mean, they actually did ask that. The Russians called them out on it, and shout out to that one reporter who actually brought that up. But yeah, they're just liars. You know, they can't take them credible for anything credible at all. Ray K says, to be honest, Trump's lawyers opened the door to this a bit when early on they argued perhaps some things said could be considered not official acts. Yeah, I think I know what you're referencing, Ray K. There was some language in Trump's filings where he did say that. He says, we do admit that there are things that are not official acts. He did say there was that said in the filings, and I think they had to say that because it's true and they have to maintain their credibility. But I think they were making that concession knowing that the not official acts in aggregate, if you added them all up, it wouldn't lead to any criminality. So it was inconsequential in their estimation. But I see your point, and I see that Mercan could always come back out and say something like that. Say, see, even your own attorneys admit that there is some unofficial conduct in here, and so we can rely on that to move forward with the sentencing. I can see it. What's up, Ray K and Tony Hey Munkets? You rock. We love you bringing in new members. 5 more coming in from Tony Hey. Gifted 5 members. Amy Ballard coming in. KM is coming in. G. McGee is here. We got Kristen Lynette and Egyptian Princess all in the house. brought in courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. What's up, Tony Hay? Yeah, what's up? Jennifer says, you may want to check the Zhang Xin supporter glitch. He popped up 3 times. That's interesting. I wonder what that's about. Maybe he just really loves the show. Zhang, do you just love the show? Thanks for becoming a supporter 3 times. What's up? I don't know what's going on, but thanks, Jennifer, for flagging it. We'll take a look. We got this one from Tony Hay. Says, how much does YouTube take out of your membership? You don't have to answer. I think it's like half, but supporting YouTube, may I keep you safe. I love your show. Man, Tony, thank you for that. So I believe it's like 40%, I think, is the truth. I think ads are 30% and membos are 40%. Locals is 10% if you go through the website. But if you go through an app on Locals, then the App Store takes their cut too, right? So the App Store takes like their 30% from the total or a recurring fee, plus Locals takes, I think, their 10%. Or maybe it's 20%. I should know those numbers better. But my goal, my mission is just to provide good content, to have good conversations with you, to go through and do good work here together, and the rest will sort itself out. So I try not to pay too much attention to the details, but obviously I'm very grateful for the support, because without it, we couldn't do this work here together. So thank you, Tony Hay. Thanks for asking about it. Thanks for supporting us however you can. We're grateful for it. We got this one from Acid Burn. Says, Rob, I've watched all your shows. You're the number one. Acid Burn, thank you for that. I appreciate it. There's been a lot of shows, man, so we've seen some stuff together. Got some extra gray hairs together, don't we? Jennifer says, Business Party Podcast is happening on Rumble, 5 p.m. Blockhouse Parties happening at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Love you tonight. Love you tonight. From Jennifer. Sounds like a couple great shows coming up. And here's this one. Blockhouse Party is Eddie Block Films' new channel. So shout out to our friend Eddie Block and his real good boy, Donnie. Sounds like some really nice shows coming in the house. We've got another one from Sheila Poo. 5 more membos coming in from you, bringing in Sean Daw in the house. We got Martha Crawford gifted a membo. Namoto in the house. Normie American and H. Heath Bilbrey gifted membos courtesy of Sheila Poo in the house. Thank you, Sheila, for bringing in 5 new membos. We got Bruce Wayne. What's up, Bruce? Says, looks like me made it. It was Barry Manilow. It was Barry Manilow. Yeah, we made it, Bruce. We made it through that was Barry Manilow? That was the tune? I know who that is. I just didn't recognize the song. But maybe if I heard it, I'd recognize it. Thank you, Bruce. Voice of the People is here. Says, 2020 happens again in Trump's favor. They find the fraud and they pin it on him. That's the theory. And then they eject him. So they say Trump wins, but it was Russian fraud. So then Joe Biden resigns, gives the White House to Kamala Harris, and she refuses to leave before the transition of power in January. It's an interesting theory. Carrie Cake, what's up? Says, hey, Rob, found a story on Kamala's support dog turning a blind eye to a fake nonprofit and millions in COVID funds. Can you look into it? Oh, talking about, I think Tim Walz, maybe? Yeah, I think we covered that story today about the subpoena, Carrie Cake. So if you missed the second segment, we talked about Tim Walz getting a subpoena for a $250 million government theft. What's up? Elf says, Elf bringing in 5 new membos. Thank you, Elf. Bringing in Bud Smokius, Henry G. Reed's Nest is coming in. Subscribe Butter and Andy Keating gifted membos courtesy of Elf. Thank you, Elf, for bringing in 5 new membos. And Tony DeMarco says, I dropped a comment earlier. The Fani story reminded me of the time when my car got impounded. Yeah, and let's see what that comment looks like, Tony, if we have that over on Locals. Let me see if we have this one. It says, here's a true story. Here's what people inside the McDonald's saw. And it says, okay, here's what happened. So Tony's telling us a DOSL story or something. It says, here's what people inside the McDonald's saw. A man, me, gets pulled over, asked to step outside of the vehicle, talk to the cops in a verbal exchange. Man, me, produces a concealed .357 Magnum from a holster, sets it on the roof of the car while the cop watches calmly. Tow truck arrives. Man retrieves the revolver, holsters it, walks towards the McDonald's as vehicle is towed away, and cop drives off. I'd accidentally put the wrong tabs on my car. Yeah, happens. Now, that's pretty aggressive for a cop to impound your car for the wrong tags. That's pretty aggressive. It's like, just fix your tags, cite you, and let you go. I don't know why he needs to impound your car, but yeah, that's kind of how it works. Oh, and did Tim Pool comment? Let's cover this real quick. So Tim Pool said this. Here's what he says. He says, my statement regarding allegations and the leaked DOJ indictment, he says, should these allegations prove true, I, as well as other personality and commentators, were deceived and are victims. I cannot speak for anyone else at the company as to what they do or what they are instructed. The Culture War podcast was licensed by Tenet Media. It existed well before any license agreement with Tenet. It will continue to exist after such agreement expires. The only change with the agreement was that the location of the live broadcast be moved to Tenet's YouTube channel. Never at any point did anyone other than I have full editorial control of the show. Contents of the show are often apolitical. Examples include spirituality, dating, video games. The show is produced in its entirety by our local team without input from anyone external. TCW is a separate company not associated with Timcast or other properties, exists solely as the production of the Culture War podcast. That being said, we still do not know what is true, and these are only allegations. He says Putin's a scumbag. Russia sucks donkey balls. And to the journalists who wish to jump the gun, create their own narrative, or lie about what is currently going on, you can eat my Irish. All right, so comment from Tim Pool there to the journalists. That is a good comment to the journalists. So, yeah, I think that's a fair statement. I don't think he knows really the extent of what these allegations are. It doesn't seem like he's in any immediate legal jeopardy. I think that they're saying that he is kind of a victim of this, that he was the recipient of this scheme, but certainly concerning, right? I empathize a lot with Tim Pool, and I think that I would be a little bit worried, a little nervous if you're just incident, you're like one step removed, like 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right? Tim Pool's like 1 degree away from a federal indictment, and I don't think that's a coincidence. All right, I think that is intentional, that the DOJ is looking for these people. Hey, Tim Pool, better shut your mouth about Russia. Hey, Benny Johnson, why don't you shut up about Russia over there? And these different organizations. So I think it's probably by design. And so we'll be sending some love and some support over to Tim Pool and our friends over there, and Benny and anyone else who is being brought in on this. To me, it sounds like it is the Russians creating some media and having some conversations with influencers. And I don't know how far down the rabbit hole this thing goes. We can look into the indictments, but I think there's an organized attempt to go after conservative influencers. This has been happening for a long time, to take them out, to cause division within this space, to create doubt about who these people are, what they stand for. It's happening all over the place. So strange stuff. But all right, so shout out to our friend Tim Pool and the crew over there, and to the Rubos for sharing that one. We've got some other comments over on locals, and so we are going to retire and go over to locals here in a short minute. But we got some other comments that came in. Hey, what's up, Jigam? Jigam sent in a very nice dono. Thank you, Jigam, for sending this one. Jigam's our meme smith extraordinaire. Says, hey, everyone, do the thing and smash that like button, baby. Heck yeah. Love that. So Jigam made that up. That's your boy looking a lot cooler than I am in reality. And this isn't a really good juxtaposition of these two images. One, me sitting here with Nathan's hot dog on my head, and the other me being the badass Avenger conquering enemies of the universe. So it's a bad juxtaposition, but we're doing it. All right. Thank you, Jigam. Thank you, Jigam, really, for the very, very nice dono, and for being the most amazing meme smith ever. What's up? Free Borboleta. Have you seen what Alexa said about Trump? I did see that video. Yeah, I did see that video. So somebody asks the device reasons for supporting Trump. The device says, I don't have any. I can't talk about it. It's political and I don't comment on it. Then you say, what are my reasons for voting for Harris? It's like, well, she's historic, and gives her a bunch of lists. Alexa is definitely a Democrat. No doubt about that, Free Borboleta, as are most of the people who run the social media companies. MAGA Hat, what's up? Says, if one girl is the one that argues in front of the Supreme Court, that one girl is the one. Oh, is that her? That was Elizabeth. I don't think that was Elizabeth Prelogar, was it? She works for Jack Smith. She is on the task force Mayday. That other girl, that other woman, what was her name? I don't know if that was her. You might be right, MAGA Hat. You're usually right. I'm usually wrong. Glocky says, Poso also burned Kamala Harris. She's not showing up to the Fox News debate tonight. Yeah, that's right. As expected, says Jack Unheard, says, as expected, Kamala Harris has officially backed out of tonight's debate with President Trump. Pathetic. What's up, Rick Donner? Says that supposed hit and run is fake. Even the call letters of the TV station are not real. So be careful about that. Yeah, here's one. Rob, here is the link to the video regarding the girl paralyzed by Kamala, courtesy of Zayas the Ape. So watch that with your own eyes, ears, and scrutiny. Rick Donner says it's not real, but you can certainly judge for yourself. Jennifer says, Rob, it's hard to take you seriously in that hat, but it's a great hat. It is a great hat. I don't know. I think it adds 3 intelligence points to everything we do here, quite frankly. And it distracts from the dumb comments, which is good. Lifts the floor. You're like, well, that's a dumb comment. Well, obviously, look at the hat he's wearing. Makes total sense. So, thank you for those tremendous donos, my friends. What a great day. Thanks for the great comments and for the fun. Let's see what's happening on X very quickly before we go over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com and to our members-only Telegram for the members-only after party, which is going to be happening here in just a minute or two. Let's go over to X and see what's happening here on X. And who is joining us on the day, if I can get this loaded in a timely manner. Here it is. Oh, yeah. Paul Minot says, if Chuck Norris becomes a sponsor, I may have a meme for you. Just a little homage to ads gone by the wayside. There's your boy. Roundhouse Coffee Morning Kick. The promo code's RG over there. And that was yesterday's sponsor. Chuck Norris is in the house. Chuck Norris is going to be back. We're going to hear from Chuck Norris tomorrow, too. I'm excited about that one. And what's up? B. Torn says, the only difference between Harris and Walz and Biden-Harris 2024, 18 years of scandal, lies, and 50 years from Biden. What's up? B. Torn has a bunch of other good posts over there. Some good memes over there. What's up? James Pepper's in the house. TJ King is over there. What's up? Lori. There are links over there. Apparently county local news talking about Kamala's hit and run. Wow, Just Wow is having some locals problems, but I think it's working for everybody else. So might just need a refresh on your screen. George says, you ever notice those who judge are guilty of what they judge about? The people who are guilty of going around the world and affecting elections all over the place are worried about Russian interference. Ruthless Sheep says both Fani and Willis should be in jail. That's also a true statement. And so those are some great comments from our friends on X. Of course, we encourage you to come check us out on X and to follow other watchers on X. It's a good way to stay connected out there if you're not on our locals or not joining us in YouTube. And so we'd love to see you anywhere. We'd love to just, see you back here in some way, shape, or form. Subscribe, join on locals, become a member, join on X. We just love you. All right, so that is going to be it for us on the day. We are going over to locals, YouTube members. We'll see you on Telegram. Otherwise, my friends, I want to thank you for joining us today for this stream. We are going to come back here tomorrow. We're going to do it all again. And it's going to be an amazing Thursday. And no doubt about it, there's going to be a lot of business to attend to, important stuff. And in order to do it appropriately, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.